live from Linguini's base of operations. Today we will be diving into the aspects of running a bird company featuring my older brother Isaac, my thoughts on reading every day, and a quote. So you're going to want to stay tuned for the dough. See you on the flip side.
You are now listening to Linguini's Dough.
All right, so today on Linguini's Dough, we're featuring a guest, my older brother Isaac. So do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Isaac. I'm Landon's older brother. I like music.
He does like music. He's a guitar player, you know? But I just wanted to talk about he recently, is it a franchise or is it like its own business?
Well, it's more so an own business. But to simply explain it, it's basically just a franchise.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't look at it as that technically.
Because of the work you put in it?
Yeah, there's more legal jargon that I could use to explain what more so it is. But to better understand it, yeah, you can just look at it as a franchise.
I guess I kind of want to go into detail on, do you know some of those legal standpoints?
I don't actually remember the legal jargon, but I do remember I was reading through the contract, and in quotation it said, please do not misunderstand this bird company as a franchise, which it is clearly not a franchise. So it says that in the contract, but from all other aspects, it basically runs like a franchise.
Oh, okay. And for those that don't know, what type of business is it outside of like a franchise? Like, what does the business do?
What does my business do?
Yeah.
Well, basically, I have 50 scooters, and I put them out in Tooele, and I charge them up and put them out there and take them back when people ride them. And, yeah, I repair the scooters when they break. They're my 50 little bird pets, you know. They call me the Bird Man.
The Bird Man. I see it.
Yeah.
You are one of many birds.
Many.
Let's see. And apparently some of them don't make it.
Yeah. Some of them don't make it. I had one get stolen the other day, about a week ago. I was looking for one for 3 days, and then I was walking through a field, and I kicked something, and I looked down, and it was the brain of the bird. And the brain on the scooter is basically, there's, the two wheels where you put your feet. Then there's the pole and the handlebar. On the pole, there's a white box attached to the front, and that's the brain of the scooter. Basically, someone cut that off and took the whole scooter. And so, yeah,
There's a lot of risks with it.
A lot of risks.
So what made you start this business, or first of all, how did you find out about it?
Instagram.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And that treated you well.
Mm-hmm.
So what got you to start it? Were you just like,
basically, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, and I did my research, and I saw a lot of potential in this opportunity, and I wanted to seize the opportunity. There's a saying that a famous guy says, what does he say? He says, even if you don't know how to do something, just say yes and learn later.
mm-hmm, fake it till you make it.
But I'm not faking it. Now I'm making it.
Yes. And in your experience so far, well, how long have you been doing this now?
2.5 months.
2.5 months. What's been probably the hardest part in your opinion?
The hardest part would have been figuring out an efficient strategy to where I'm profiting every single day instead of losing money, because, the paychecks aren't guaranteed. So every single day you have to wake up and you have to micromanage yourself and, get up and go work. But one of the hardest parts is getting that discipline, the self-discipline definitely the hardest part. The other hard part is that, it's a lot of work to take on, and you have two choices. You can either hire somebody to help you, and you have to trust them to do what you pay them to do and to not slack off behind your back, because that costs you a lot of money. Or you can do it yourself and get it done right, but it takes a lot more time and energy. So those are probably the two hardest things. I tried hiring an employee right off the bat, and it was going good, and then we have stuff happen. But now I'm working hard myself, and with my employee, he wasn't a bad employee, he was a good employee. It was just a very difficult situation to understand right off the bat, so we didn't do the best right off the bat. But now I have him doing stuff that he's better at, so we can still be moving forward.
It's kind of like finding what works and what doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
How did you find an employee?
Just a close friend I knew for a couple of years. He was down. He had no job, playing video games every single day. He wanted to work. He has a very, very good work ethic. He's a hard worker. And I trusted him a lot. So, I was very fortunate to know somebody like that. If you're starting a business, you should expect to have a hard time to find your first couple employees that will stay.
So when you hired him, or I'm assuming you kind of started it with him, but when you were hiring him, was there fear with knowing that, like, if you can't afford to pay him, is there a fear with that?
Not necessarily. If you hire an employee and you explain, well, basically, me and my employee were on the same understanding. So he knew that it's commission. So, I'm going to have him do work, and then based off of how much money we make, he could get a percentage off that.
Okay.
But if we make a lot of money, he makes more. If we make a little bit of money, he makes less. But if he works more in 1 week or works less in 1 week, it doesn't really affect how much he gets paid.
He's not paid hourly then, all commissions or percentage?
Mm-hmm. So each week you get paid just percentage-wise,
Yeah. Okay, well, that's cool. How often do you work on, like, a typical week?
For me, on a good week, between like 3 to 4 hours every single day. But I was really sick last week or 2 weeks ago, and I couldn't even get out of bed for like a week. So sometimes stuff like that happens, and it kind of throws you off your rhythm.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't really just tell yourself, oh, well, the company will work if I work 40 hours a week. Because if you work 40 hours a week and there's still more work to do, then you're going to have a harder time getting up off your chair to go and finish the extra work. But if you just don't think about it, and you just say, I work till I work, and when work is done, then when you go home and you're about to play some video games, and then someone reported a broken scooter in the middle of the street that I have to go get, I don't have to fight my mind, because I'm almost always in work mode, but not really. Like, I'm basically on the call 24/7. Like yesterday, I finished work at like 4, and as soon as I got home, I had to go back out to do more work, because there was 4 scooters that I had to go pick up because people said that they were blocking their driveways. And so it's like, you think you have time, but then you don't. But it's just, sometimes there's hard things, sometimes there's good things, but it's worth it.
So is that another aspect where having that employee is a good help, because you're on call 24/7? So
Yeah, but it's not really good to hire an employee until you can actually gauge about how much you're making. And it's hard for me to gauge how much I'm making right now as for the company just started. So, usually I just got to count on myself for stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Do you enjoy the type of work it is?
Mm-hmm.
And is it specifically the fact that it's your own business and it's your own work at it that you enjoy, or is it like the specific work, like maintaining the scooters that you like?
Yeah, well, maintaining the scooters and taking care of the scooters, I don't really think much about it. It's not hard. But with what my job is, a lot of driving. I don't like driving as much as I do, but I'm capable of driving as much as I do, so I don't complain. But aside from that, it definitely does help with confidence and everything. Having your own company and trying to get everything going like that.
Yeah, I know previously you worked like I don't know if it was a 9 to 5, but it was for someone helping with cabinets. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was a 9 to 5 construction. Definitely one of my least favorite jobs. I work so hard at this job because I never want to go back into construction.
Yeah.
So if I have to work hard right now, I don't really care.
Yeah. It's worth it for the long term.
Yeah. Yeah. No, 10 to 12 hour days and you were getting paid like nothing.
Yep. A lot of those places like to do that. Do you consider the pay good for your business right now?
Yeah.
Yeah. An improvement?
Yeah, definitely an improvement. I obviously have some things that I've been really stressed about that I'm trying to get situated, but in the long run, I can definitely see it being, way better.
I know some of your struggles with this startup was the fact that it was in Tooele because you don't live it, or at the time you didn't live in Tooele. Do you want to maybe expand on what those hardships were like?
Yeah, basically, I would have to drive 40 minutes to go drop off, 10, 15 scooters and then drive for about an hour to pick up, 10, 15 scooters and then drive 40 minutes back. But the thing is, though, is that with the type of work that I do, it just makes it easier to be in the city you work in. And so now that you're in the city you work in, when you get those reports where it's like, hey, we need to move this scooter, then you only have to drive like 10 minutes instead of 2 hours,
Mm-hmm. And I remember because you said you're on call 24/7. Sometimes you'd get back to where you were living, and then you'd get a call and you'd have to go right back out.
Mm-hmm. It's happened a lot. It happened. It happened recently. I think it was Father's Day or your birthday.
It was one of them. I think it was Father's Day.
Yeah. Yeah, it was Father's Day, I'm pretty sure, because I just got home and then I had to go pick up like 2 scooters.
Okay. So I know right now you drive it's a Pontiac, right?
Pontiac Grand Am.
Pontiac Grand Am. Yeah, it's a little car. So I'm kind of curious, how do you store the scooters and how do you put them in your car to go set them back up or set them somewhere else?
I have a place to store the scooters, where I can put the scooters in and charge them. And it's just a backyard. So it's like nothing special. The scooters are made to be outside, so I just put a tent over them and they're good. But my Pontiac Grand Am can fit, on a good day, 14 scooters in it.
For the record, these scooters are not small.
Yeah. I have a 2-door V6 sports car that I can carry 14 scooters in safely, legally. So.
Do they fold up?
Mm-mm.
Oh, wow.
I put 5 in the trunk, and then you put 5 on top of the folded down back seats. That's 10. And then you fold down the passenger seat and you can kind of fit like 2 to 4 more. If you go over 12, there's like a super high chance you're gonna get hurt though, because like that's where I got all these.
Oh.
Is when I was experimenting with how much I could make this Pontiac work for me.
So right before we started this podcast, he was showing me a bunch of not scars, but
No,
scabs.
they are scars.
Scars, yeah.
These are all scars.
Yeah, he got a bunch of scars from those scooters, like across his arms, his feet, his legs, everywhere. No pain, no game.
No pain, no gain. That's what I'm saying.
Do you have to pay anything monthly to put those scooters in? Is it your employee's backyard? Or is it somewhere else?
No, my employee's backyard. No, I pay him.
Mm-hmm. So that worked out for you then.
Yeah.
Let's say I wanted to start the scooter business is called Bird.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say I wanted to start a bird company. Would you have any advice if I were to start on this?
Yeah, definitely. Basically, you have to touch the scooters. Like, you have to touch every one of your 50 scooters at least once every 48 hours. If you're not touching every single one of your scooters every 48 hours, you're doing something wrong. And then having a reliable work vehicle. If you live in the city that you're in, just make sure your vehicle's good. But if you live outside of the city you're in, you need an extremely reliable work vehicle. I've already had an SUV brake that was $4,000 right there. And don't spend money you don't have. Just take it slow. Be patient.
Okay. And then I know earlier you were talking about the kind of placement of scooters in a sense, I guess.
Mhm.
It's important to know where you put your scooters, where they're going to be the most profitable.
Yeah.
How do you go about planning where to put your scooters?
Oh, I just started putting my scooters everywhere I could think of in Tooele, and then the app takes in that information and builds you a map that shows you where scooters are most popular. But by the time that I had all the information with the map, and I could use the map to put the scooters places, I already knew places with my mind on where to put the scooters, so I didn't need it. So I just memorized where the scooters go, and then I put them in the same spot every day. I feel like the scooters make more money if people can count on them being in a specific spot every day. So that's why I work every day, is I try to keep the scooters in the same spot.
Yeah, people definitely like that consistency. Do you have to go bring them back to the backyard to get them charged?
Yeah, so you take them out at 100%, set them out on a sidewalk in Tooele, bring them back at 15-20%, and you charge them back up to 100 and then repeat.
Okay, and is there any way you can, because I know it's more like, hey, I just pay with credit card or whatever, I go write it somewhere and then I get off and leave. Is there any system for people to leave reviews or recommend your company?
Yeah, no, I get reviews all the time, and there's not necessarily a way you can recommend my company. That's where we're going back to the franchise.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, the reason why companies do stuff like franchises is because once you are making a certain amount of money, and once you have a certain amount of influence on civilization, it's not really worth it for you to keep opening small brick stores. You're going to be focused on bigger things, long-term business, longevity, and stuff like that. So, basically you'll set up a system where you have a bunch of eager entrepreneurs send you applications to own some of your brick stores or start new ones, and you cut the profits with them. Now, granted, that's less money, but the thing is that money isn't really the concern for McDonald's anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're just trying to expand to as big as possible, and the fastest way to do that is to cut most of their stores with their
Least profitable?
Yeah, franchise counterparts. So, yeah.
I like that. Do you see your scooter company working long term?
Yeah, just stressful because sometimes you don't know if it'll work, but sometimes you do.
Mm-hmm. And do you think you'll be able to take a week, like a vacation, like a week-long vacation sometime in the near future, or do you think it'll be a couple years before you can do that?
I think it'll be probably 6 to 12 months before I can do that.
Hey, it'll be nice when you do.
But if, I could probably take a vacation sooner. It would just cost a lot more because I'd have to make sure that people are taking care of the scooters while I'm gone. Because if something happens and none of the people that I'm paying to take care of the scooters can take care of them, then I get in trouble, you know?
It all goes back to how you have to trust your employees.
Mm-hmm. They really can, ruin everything.
Yeah. Were there any things that you were responsible for that you would had no idea you'd be responsible for when starting it?
Yeah, they started me out with twice as many scooters than I thought I was going to get. That was exciting.
That's a plus.
Yeah. But aside from that, no, not really. I mean, it all kind of went as I was expecting it to go.
Well, that's good.
Not necessarily saying that it was easy. I expected it to be hard, but...
But you obviously haven't failed yet. You're still going.
2 months.
2 months.
2 months. Let's see if I can go farther.
Let's see. I guess in what ways, how do you think your life has changed? Like any knowledge or just... Obviously, your schedule's changed. But yeah, just that type of thing. How has stuff changed since?
Social life definitely has changed. I've been a lot more busy. It, takes an emotional toll. Where I live, I'm here half the time, out in Tooele half the time. I'd rather be at home with family, but, it was just the 4th of July, and even though it doesn't seem like there's that much work to do, it took me like 2 weeks to prepare for 4th of July, which is really upsetting. And then, aside from that, I'm a pretty active person. I like doing things and being active. I don't like not doing anything. It's hard for me to sit down and do nothing. So my life hasn't changed that much.
What are some other details about the company that you feel like that you can talk about that I didn't go over?
It's a very secretive company. We do a lot of sketchy things. I'm just kidding.
Drugs?
No. It's very straightforward. The bird company makes money. I'm making money for the physical labor. And it's definitely worth the physical labor that I've been exerting. So, it's exciting. But I'd say that's it is what it is.
It is what it is.
Do you want to hear crazy bird stories?
Yeah, let's hear some crazy bird stories.
All right. Well, the scooters are made out of very, very, very durable metal and plastic. Two wheels. So there's 2 wheels and a floorboard. The floorboard's like 3 inches tall. Because it holds the battery, and the plastic walls that connect the floorboard together are really thick. So, the side walls. But basically, I go to pick up a scooter, and I see that the handlebar is bent because someone crashed it so hard they bent the handlebar, which first off is very hard to do. And then I looked down, and someone crashed the scooter so hard that they had an object puncture like 2-inch thick plastic sidewall, which was insane. They must have been going so fast.
Going on a hill.
And I've also had a church steal one of my scooters.
Wow.
Yeah. I can't disclose what church, but
Oh, you know exactly which one too.
but I know exactly which one, and I'm sure everybody could guess.
We'll keep this up to your mind.
I don't want to be mean, but they did steal one of my scooters, so.
Yep. Didn't you say recently one of them went on fire too?
No. So basically, somebody melted the plastic on one somehow, but it just looks a little bit weird. It was like, whoa, that's weird. Let's see.
Oh, so I know. So you have to maintain these and whatnot. What is kind of the? How hard was it to learn all the ins and outs of the scooter to get it like when you need to repair one?
I'm still learning.
You're still learning.
It's I mean, it just for the first month it was super hard because there was a lot to learn. I couldn't just focus my time on learning the mechanics on the scooter. I had to focus on so many things. But now that things are kind of settling down, I'm able to fix a lot more scooters than I've ever been able to. But it's still, at times, I find it very stressful because, spare parts, spare tools break, scooters break. I've broken scooters and had to refix them because of my own mistakes, so it's a process.
And from what I understand is the scooters are expensive to replace if they do break.
Yeah.
Would you say it's a good portion, if you're allowed to talk about it? Would you say it's a good portion of, like, it takes a good net loss on you?
It can. It just depends on what type of situation I'm in.
Okay. Depends how profitable the whole week was, and just kind of depends.
Yeah, there's a lot of variables in that. You have to think about your statistics, how many scooters you have out, how many scooters are already broken, how many scooters are charging, how many scooters are ready to ride and active and charged in Tooele. If those stats are looking all bad and you have a scooter break, that just makes it harder. But if you're soaring and you have one scooter break, I don't really think it's that detrimental towards the whole business model.
Mm-hmm. It's just one of those expected losses.
Mm-hmm.
When your business is doing bad, in a sense, how do you keep your mind set up about just keep going at it and knowing that you'll get past that roadblock?
Well, honestly, I just play music as loud as I can and work because there's not really anything I can tell myself to calm myself down. I'm an adult man. I don't have any endearing words for myself to, make myself feel better because I have to work hard. If I'm worried about something not working, the only thing I can do about it is work.
Okay. And backing off of that, do you have to look at the analytics? Because I know you said you memorized kind of where you should put your scooters.
Yeah. Well, I'm not just going to keep working and doing the same strategy. That's literally the definition of going insane. But for me, it's, I like, let's say, okay, so for example, we had a U-Haul and the U-Haul was doing good for the first couple weeks, but then profits fell by almost half. And so we couldn't afford the U-Haul, so we had no work vehicle. And so then I got an SUV, and the SUV broke down, and so the profits fell again. And so now we have no work vehicle, and we're trying to figure out how to get the scooters out. And, I'd be sitting on my bed, thinking about what I'm supposed to do. I have huge issues that I have to fix now. I needed to get these things done yesterday, but sitting there didn't help my mental state. It didn't help me in any way. It just made me stressed and gave me bad emotions. So what I would do is I'd just get up and go work. I'd pick up whatever charged scooters I'd have and go and put them out there. Or I'd, go pick up some dead scooters. But I'd just say it's really been a good way for me to cope with the stresses of having a business fail.
And so far, it hasn't failed.
Yeah.
Even with those stresses and difficulties.
And now we're at my car with 15 scooters.
What's your car's mileage right now?
$134,739.
That's actually really good. I thought it was much higher because my car is at 186,000. So
Yeah.
I guess that's why your car's doing good. You got it for a good price too.
I take good care of my car. I drive it almost 300 miles a day.
Yeah, and you make sure the oil's changed.
Mm-hmm.
Who are the type of people you wouldn't recommend this type of business to? Because there's obviously you, where you're the entrepreneurship type. You like to take risks.
I wouldn't recommend this job to anybody who genuinely struggles with anxiety. I would not recommend this company to that. If you are an adrenaline junkie, yeah, sure. Try this job. It's just you need a lot of discipline, and you need to be very flexible, because you have to think of solutions that no one thinks of, because that's how you make it.
That's how you compete against the others.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, do you have to be first to get your scooters to some spot versus, because I'm sure you're competing with others?
No, the city's big enough.
Okay, yeah. Guess you're not going to really run out of space. And
Yeah, if I see somebody that put their scooters by my spot, I don't get upset about it. Actually, I'm really I really enjoy the other guy that has scooters out in Tooele. He's a really great guy. He's super nice, and you'd know what I'm saying when you meet him. He's just a really great guy. And sometimes some of his scooters are by mine, but it's not really an issue. It helps out a lot. It helps everybody, and so when you see some of his scooters that are knocked over, it helps everybody to go and pick it up. And when he sees some of mine, I see him pick up some of my scooters sometimes too. So it's
like a friendly competition.
It's not necessarily a competition even. It's just ecosystem, better said.
Do you have any, I guess, say if anyone else wants to be an entrepreneur, do you have any advice in terms of going about the risk of quitting that 9 to 5 and going full at it with your company?
Yeah. Basically, don't second guess yourself, but also don't be dumb. Like if you're telling yourself that something's gonna work, and every person left and right tells you that that's a terrible idea, it might not be a terrible idea. It really just comes down to how much you trust yourself. How much do you trust your judgment on a product to be wanted by a consumer base and to be profitable? But I would say sometimes you're not given the right tools to get something done, and it's hard. But you got to keep trying no matter how much you fail. I failed so much. I've been failing. I fail left and right. I might as well wear a jacket that says F on it for fail, because I've failed a lot. I played basketball for 2 years straight, and I won 0 games. And I played baseball. I couldn't hit the ball once. I don't believe I ever hit it once. And what else did I play? I got back into basketball in high school, and I never even got onto the basketball team. I didn't get on the swim team. I didn't get on the tennis team. I didn't get on the debate team. I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do in life. I mean, I tried. I took an architecture class. I thought I was going to go to college and be an architect. I took astronomy. I thought I was going to do stuff in space and astrology. I took science. I wanted to do science. There was a time that I wanted to write too. I took creative writing. But all of these things I'm listing at, by the way, I failed miserably. I took French, Spanish, German, Japanese. I've attempted to try all of those languages, and now I can just do,
Bonjour.
bonjour, comment ça va? That means hi, how are you in French. But the moral of the story is, it's like, if you try 5 things, you're only going to understand 5 things that you're not good at. But because I've tried 50 things, at least I know 50 things that I don't want to do anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, next time I look at doing something, I know that my chances are greater in succeeding, because at least it's not one of those other 50 things I've tried.
Yeah. And it's very important that you did the trying versus thinking on it.
Yeah. There is no try, just do.
All right. So it looks like we learned a lot from Isaac. You can check out his Instagram at Lord Farquaad. I'll link it in the description.
I'm a sussy baka.
He's a sussy baka. All right. On to the next piece of dough. That information was awesome. Moving on, we're going to mix the dough with a quote. It doesn't matter what we want. Once we get it, we will want something else. This was by Flo from Matt DiViela's video, Don't Make These Personal Finance Mistakes. This was a comment on the video, and he was quoting a phrase. Not sure where he got it from, but that is where I found it, and I thought it was pretty solid. I like this quote because when I was in high school, I was a huge impulse purchaser. I never realized till later on. Part of it was because I thought it was making me happier, but instead you end up wanting the next thing after that. I've learned it's hard to be content with what you have, but that is a crucial aspect to just being happier, in my opinion, is working on being content with what you have, because it's hard to be content with what you have sometimes. When I started being quote unquote financially smarter, there were a couple things that helped me. Looking at future goals was a big one. Being content with what I have, and that I think is the most important one. Using what I have as well as being content, and not wanting to be too broke where finances are going to hurt. But obviously, emergencies, it's nicer to have some finances ready. I'm still not perfect. I still have what people call gear acquisition syndrome, short for gas, but I do it in a different means than I previously did. Now I understand I likely don't need the stuff that I'm looking at buying, and I make sure that I have twice the amount to be able to buy it. Before I buy it, I'll make sure that I'll actually use it, and I just make sure it's a purchase that's going to be solid for me, that I'm not going to waste, or it will help me in the end, I guess. Anyways, so this is a pretty straightforward quote. Just once you get something, you're going to want something else. So we're going to move on to the next segment.
多样的嘢的 We're now moving on to our next piece of dough.
All right, this is for my reading every day challenge. So for those of you that don't know, for July, I challenged myself to read a little bit every day. I chose this challenge because I was starting to have a pile up of books I needed to read. One of which was my New Year's resolution, so finally got that out of the way. The books I read / am reading is The Greatest Salesman in the World, Everything is Effed, a book about hope, and The 1 Minute Millionaire. I also chose this challenge because so many people recommended reading. There's a reason for a stereotype of people who read being smart, because in my opinion, reading makes you smarter. Although that shouldn't be why you read books, and I'm definitely don't consider myself smarter after reading for a month. It's got to be a consistent habit that you enjoy, like a hobby, you know? So as a human being, I did not complete this challenge 100%. I missed a couple days, but that was only when I was literally busy the whole day and ran out of time. If I had free time, I made sure to put in the effort to read at least like 10 pages. One of the things that made it harder to read for me when I was reading a book is when it was a book I didn't particularly enjoy. So for The Greatest Salesman, that was an all right book. I took what I could from it. It was an amazing book, though. in my opinion. I am kind of not great at reading either, so it might have been better than I thought it was. I don't know. But it was an all right book. I liked reading it. Everything is Effed is probably one of my favorite books now. I wanted to read more than a chapter a day, but I limited myself to a chapter a day. Plus, it made me be able to like understand the words I was reading more than just reading and not understanding what it's saying by only doing a chapter. And honestly, that book was amazing. The book I'm dreading, and I'm still in the process of reading it, is called The 1 Minute Millionaire. Someone bought it for me, and that's why I'm still reading it, because I'm like, I'll just read it, bought it for me. I do personally prefer reading nonfiction books because I like learning. However, fiction books are a lot of fun to read as well. I find nonfiction books hard to keep my attention span, however. So when I read them, I really have to be paying attention so that I don't just read words without understanding, which it still happens a lot, even with trying. And as I work on finding out who I am, reading these books I've read it, and the past month has honestly been helpful. The Greatest Salesman was showing confidence and getting past that kind of anxiety. Everything is Effed was showing some really insightful philosophy things, and it was amazing, honestly. And the 1 Minute Millionaire, well, it teaches me of what type of book I'm not a huge fan of. Some books I look forward to reading in the future are Investing for Dummies, The Bagelhead's Guide to Investing, and some more financial books. Right now, I'm not investing a whole lot in the stock market, but when I make more money and plan on getting a serious amount into it, I'd like to already have a good amount of knowledge of understanding like bonds, stocks, index funds, just a general idea where I can sum those up in a sentence and it makes sense to me. Because right now I find a lot of it confusing. I'm like, oh, I'm investing. Currently losing money. So yeah, in summary, I definitely recommend doing this challenge. It has been one of the simplest challenges, but also super healthy for me. It turns out high school me was wrong. I do like reading. Don't love it though, but I do like it. For August challenge, I will be doing a post-it challenge. Basically, I'm going to put positive post-its in whatever places I put them. I haven't decided yet. And they'll be positive. You know, when I guess I'm doing this because a lot of times people be like, you're smart. And I'm like, no, I'm not. So it's kind of just a confidence booster because we all have insecurities. So there you go. I guess that's what I'm working on. It'll help build my confidence and it just seems healthy. I got it from someone I follow named Montelfish. And that's where I got the idea. I think it's cool. Anyways, I'll see you guys on the next piece of dough. Peace. Alright, so the guests in this episode are Isaac, aka Lord Farquaad on Instagram. Links will be in the description. My challenge for August is writing positive notes about myself. And if you'd like to be a guest for Linguini's dough, there'll be details in the description for contact info. If you're wondering what Linguini's dough is, this is where we start with dough, which is a base ingredient, and we bake from that. We can really be talking about anything. I do try to keep the dough baked at a consistent level of productivity and self-improvement. However, it can be rolled around from time to time. The voice actor in this video is user/Lendry from Reddit, spelled Lendry. Go check him out if you want a reliable voice actor. The songs in this video are Slug Love 87, Go On Going, Charanagoes, Digital Memories, and Witness, all from the YouTube library. I'll see you guys on the next piece of dough. Peace.